So according to the Occupational Outlook Handbook by the Bureau of Labor Statistics that was just updated April 12, 2019, software development is one of the biggest growing careers in the United States. It's projected to grow nearly 25% from 2016 to 2026. And as of May 2017, the average salary was over $100,000 a year. So with all that said, it's very understandable why people want to go into software engineering. However, I think some of those people are wrong. So all of us are college students. We're looking for careers, trying to figure out what we're going to be doing after graduation. And myself studying computer science, I've had some people, for example, studying English, the guy I work with, came up to me and said, "Oh, you know how to code? That's awesome. I want to learn to code as a backup plan." Which kind of confused me because it didn't have anything to do with English, which was supposedly his passion. So although software development can lead to money, if it's not something you're passionate about, it's really not worth the time. It's really just a distraction from your passion. Over the past 4 years, I've actually learned to code, so I know all of the cons to programming, and since I have a job lined up after graduation, I even know some of the cons once you get into the field of computer science. So to go through and actually examine why it's a bad idea for most of you to learn to code, first we're going to talk about the struggles of learning how to code, then we're going to talk about those struggles that I mentioned in the workplace, and third, we're going to talk about what I think is the biggest problem, the lack of thought that causes people to go into software engineering. So like I said, the first problem is learning. This is how you get into software engineering. This is the main hurdle, and it's the first problem you face. A lot of people say that the first language is hardest, and after that they just get a little bit easier and a little bit easier. So for example, this is C. This is actually something I've been working on for a recent project, and for most of you is probably, you can't read it, it just doesn't make sense. And honestly, after 4 years, it still barely makes sense. This is made even more difficult if you're trying to teach yourself how to program. It's not working all slide. If you're trying to teach yourself how to program, you can't even know all the mistakes that you're making when you're coding. This is made even more difficult by the fact that there are so many different specialties within computer science. You can go into big data, data analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all these different areas. Each has their own language. So just at K-State, we learn Python, C, C++, C#, Java, and maybe other languages depending on what classes you take. That was up on the board was an example of C. Like I said, it's also very difficult if you don't have a mentor. Even setting up your development environment can be extremely frustrating. And it's very difficult to keep your cool when you're trying to set up a development environment and all you have are these crappy computer error messages trying to point you in the right direction. That, combined with the fact that if you have a semicolon in the wrong place, your entire program won't run, just makes for a very difficult entry into computer science. So a good way to think about it is that it's about the same level of difficulty as teaching yourself calculus just from the textbook. You can do it, but it's really difficult and it's kind of a waste of time unless it's something you're passionate about. So once you learn all the different languages, you finally get a job, you get into the workplace, a lot of people are attracted mainly by the salary. So like I said, the average salary is over $100,000, and that was back in 2017. But an important thing that you need to consider is the living costs associated with those areas. So Silicon Valley is one of the areas most associated with computer science and software engineering. But according to a June 2018 article by Emmy Martin, the associate money editor for CNBC, a San Francisco Bay family of four is considered low income if it makes $117,000 a year. A single adult is considered low income if they make $82,000 a year. So even though you might be making $100,000, you're still low income, which is kind of mind-boggling. The other main con in the workplace is work-life balance. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupation Outlook that I cited earlier, most software developers work full-time and additional work hours are common. According to an article published in the Wall Street Journal written by Li Yuan in February 2017, in China it's even common to have what's known as a 9-9-6 schedule. It's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Now in America that's not common, there are labor laws that prevent that, but it's not uncommon to work over 60 hours a week, especially at a startup. So that's another big con and a reason that you might not even want to get a job in computer science. The last thing I mentioned was what I think is the biggest problem. People giving up on their passions because they're afraid and they don't want to take the risks to jump into that. So instead, they figure out something they think is going to be safer, computer science, and it really ends up being a distraction to them excelling in their passion. As of April 5th, 2019, the Bureau of Labor Statistics published the Employment Situation Summary, which showed unemployment was down to 3.8%. This means even if you are entering a career that's a little bit riskier, it's still very likely that you'll be able to find employment. So there's not really a reason to jump out of what you're doing and just start doing software development. Instead, you should invest in your passion so you can get to that hallowed 10,000 hours of dedicated practice so you can be a professional. Plus, your internal drive, doing something that you actually care about, is going to make it much easier to practice in a way that's actually going to make you improve. So instead of freaking out doing something you don't care about, you should focus on your passion and dive deeper on that. So although coding is popular for a lot of people and it seems like you can make a lot of money, it's really a distraction for most people because it's not what they're passionate about. We examine that through looking at the obstacles that you face when you're learning, the obstacles you face in the workforce, and really the underlying problem that people are just afraid of the risk. So yeah, $100,000 sounds great, but it's not worth it. The cost is just too high. Thank you.